Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the confidence architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and today we're going to encourage you. We got an epic story of this young gentleman that has grown into a tremendous powerhouse in the real estate industry. And when you say that I'm too young, I'm too old, well, this guy just crushed all those limitations. So I want to welcome to the stage, to the show right now, the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Abbas Mohammed. How you doing, my brother Abbas? Let's give you
Daniel, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for
big
having
round of
me. I'm excited.
applause. Woo!
I'm excited to be here. I love your energy, man.
Bro, I tell you what, I've been looking forward to it. I had the chance of pleasure of meeting you earlier this year in January, and just,
Oh yeah,
man, you were just,
it was a lot of fun.
it was a lot of fun. And that's like, you kind of just follow people and you communicate with people kind of from a distance in social media. That's why, people, I think if you're negative, social media is negative, but if you're
Right,
positive, you get the good out of social media. I just been seeing your
right.
stories and heard a little bit of your story at the event we met, man. But I know the great person you are. Introduce yourself,
I
Abbas, to the
appreciate that.
Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, my friend, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share my story, and just kind of go over how my life went basically so far. So my name is Abbas Mohammed. I was born in Iraq originally, and I remember growing up when I was a kid. My family didn't have any money, and I remember literally sleeping on concrete because we couldn't afford to buy beds or mattresses at the time. And so, having said that, when I was a kid, I always hated that. I always hated the fact that we didn't have money to do anything. We didn't have, I mean, we were literally a family of 7 people living in a 0 bedroom house. We didn't even have bedrooms, And so it was childhood was financially tough, and then during the Iraq and the U.S. war, we lost our house. We ended up moving from one place to another, and then eventually we left everything behind, the little that we had, and then moved over to Syria, stayed there for 2 years, and then came to the U.S. when I was 11 years old. So that was back in 2009. And so when I came to the US, again, same exact story. We didn't have any money. We were on food stamps. We were on housing assistance, all that sort of stuff. And, growing up as an 11-year-old kid, I just remember hating that. I'm like, if there one day when I could work, I will make sure that I change our financial situation. And so I remember that growing up, even as a kid. And then when I was 18, I was going to college and I was selling cars. I was a used car salesman. And, I just realized after selling cars, I was really good at it, but I realized that you can't build wealth selling cars, and you can't build wealth going to college. I don't want to work for somebody for 60, 70, $80,000 a year for the rest of my life. So I decided at the
That's a lot of
time,
money. Why don't you want to work for somebody for 70,000 a year? That's a lot of money, man. That's
it's it's
that's the
it's
American dream they sell us.
it is, and it's not bad money, I mean, in perspective to other people, but the truth is, it's just not what I wanted. I wanted more. I wanted more out of life than that. And so I remember at the time I thought, look, what business could I start as an 18-year-old kid that could generate enough money for me to be happy? And I looked at all my options and I realized that the richest people in the US were in real estate. So I was like, okay, well, I don't need to think about it anymore. I'm just going to get into real estate. So I went out, I got my real estate license at the age of 18 on a credit card because I didn't have the money to actually pay for the license. So I literally paid it on a credit card. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought I'd get in, I'm going to get these commission checks very quickly, and life is going to be good. But then I got in, I quit my car sales job immediately. I quit college immediately. And I started knocking on doors every single day from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. And I did that for 3 months, knocked on thousands of doors. I didn't get a single sale. It was completely disappointing. And I was like, okay, well, now I ran out of money. I had to go back to selling cars, which I hated. And then at that point, I decided, look, I either let go of trying to sell houses and give up on my dream and go back to college, or I just figure out another way because there was always
So
another way.
let's slow down. Let me ask you this, because you said
Mhm.
something. You knocked for three
Thou-
months
Thousands of doors.
from 9 to 5.
hmm Every
So,
day I would wear a suit, right? And I would go out,
and
I
you were
would
in a
knock on
suit.
doors. I was in a suit, because I was 18 years old. I wanted to look professional. So I was
But
in a
I love
suit.
this. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where you got to get out your pen and paper. because this is the secret sauce that Abbas is going to give to us right now. He's going to drop wisdom. This gentleman is 23 years old. He's made millions already at 23 years old. So you heard me right. He's 23 years old, made millions, not in sales, but for himself. So take notes down. I always say when you put pen to paper, you retain a lot more information. So put your limiting beliefs aside. Take notes today because he's going to drop some massive wisdom. So let's just slow down real quick.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself? Because I see you as a success, right? To knock from 9 to 5 on to be a door knocker, to say for
Yeah.
3 months straight. What did you learn about yourself in that period? Because I think so many people see you now and they'd be like, man, this guy is amazing. He has in May, 23 years old, millionaire, but they don't
Right.
see that door knocking for 90 days straight,
Right.
9 to 5.
It's discipline, man. That's really what it comes down to: discipline and focus on the things that produce revenue. And that's really was my biggest focus. In fact, I remember there were many times where I wanted to quit. And one day I was like, you know what? If I want to quit so bad, I'm just gonna quit on the idea of quitting. And so now I can't quit anymore because I already quit on the idea of quitting and there was no other chance behind it, right? So like just being disciplined to do the things that you actually have to do. Here's the thing, what I realized about life or people in general is that we all know what we need to do, but some of us just don't have the discipline to say, you know what, I'm going to go out and do what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's why, people end up being stuck financially or in business or in their jobs or whatever the case is, because they know what to do. They don't need coaching. They just need to do the things that they're supposed to be doing.
But look at that. Look at what you just said. That's a word of wisdom right there. Give up on the idea of giving up.
That's it.
How
That's
many, man,
Burn the ships.
I know 40-year-old people that don't even have that common sense.
Yeah, no, you gotta burn the ships, and that's you'll see that pattern in my life is that I always burn the ships. I don't take option Bs, right? And I'll tell you about that in a bit as well in a second scenario. But basically, I knocked on thousands of doors, didn't get a single thing, went back to selling cars, and I decided, look, when I don't have a customer that I'm selling a car to, I'm just going to cold call people. And that way I'll still reach out to people and ask if they want to sell their home. So I would put on my headset and I connected my phone to 3 phones at the same time. So I was cold calling people literally from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, 12 hours a day, every day. And then I decided, look, I'm only calling on one headset. What if I wear 2 headsets and I call 6 people at the same time? That way I double my efficiency. So I did that. Again, calling all day long. Sometimes I would get a customer.
Whoa. This is so you hooked up your phone, your
to 3
headset
phones.
to 3 phones.
And then I was using one ear.
I've never even heard of that, to be honest.
Yeah. No, there are softwares out there that let you do that, where you could dial multiple people at the same time. And then I basically doubled it by wearing two headpieces at the same time, as if I was 2 people. Basically, I doubled my
genius,
efficiency.
man. That's pretty. So did any? So let me ask you. What if you had 2 people that answered the phone?
I had that very commonly. I would just talk to both people at the same time and just mute myself in between the conversations and keep both conversations going. It was not easy, man. That's why I'm saying, like, life, there are a lot of things that are not easy, and the things that are
I want you to know my head's
really
exploding right now. Like, bro, you talk about phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So
it was a lot of work. And sometimes I would have customers that would walk in and I would go dial from the bathrooms of the car dealership. And I'd have people knocking on the bathrooms because they want to get in, or like I would go cold call from the rooftop of the car dealership. I literally did that for a full year of my life, cold calling, before I got my first transaction. It was absolutely miserable, but I had no other choice. Again, I quit on the idea of quitting. And so I had to keep going. So I got my first sale, made good amount of money at 18 or 19, whatever. And then I got a second sale, and then I got a third, and then I got a fourth, and I decided I'm going to quit on selling cars. I promised myself I'll never, ever, ever be a used car salesman again, because I just hated it personally. It doesn't mean you should hate it, but I hated it. And so from there on, I 2 years later, or a year later, a year and a half later, I basically became one of the top agents in the Bay Area. I was 20 years old. I was making like 350,000, but I was working 16 hours a day. And I thought, look, there has to be more to life than working 16 hours a day to make 350,000 a year. And so I started looking at some of the biggest companies out there, and I realized every business has 2 things. It has systems and they have people, systems and people. I realized in my little tiny business at the time, I had no systems and I had no people. Everything was based on me, and all the decisions were based on my gut feelings. And so I literally spent a full month analyzing my business, systematizing every little detail, because I knew I wanted to start hiring other people. And so back in 2019, I decided to hire, October 2019, I decided to hire my first virtual assistant. I set up the systems, hired a virtual assistant from the Philippines, put her on to do this, the cold calling job I was doing. She did really well. A month later, I hired a second. I then hired a third, then hired a fourth. And when I hired my fourth person, that was around March of 2020, which is when COVID hit. And COVID was, obviously it stopped the whole world and all that stuff. I saw every other business in my area just completely reduce their employee count. They reduced the marketing. And I looked at that and I said, if everybody's doing this, I'm going to do the complete opposite. I'm just going to spend as much money on marketing as possible. I'm going to hire as many people as possible. I'm just going to take this as a way to grow. And I hired a hiring manager in April of 2020.
So let's take a step back, because where did you get this thought process from is what I want to know. Because you think about, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what he's saying. At 11, he was on a concrete floor in Iraq. They had to move to Syria, another country. And then they moved to America. No beds in America. You didn't just start thinking this way, right? Coming from Iraq. I mean, I don't know. Can't say how Iraqis think, but how did you develop this mindset? Because normal people, average people, mediocre people don't think that way. What did you do to develop this thought process, to put the systems, everything you just said that you've been saying you're giving great wisdom and great strategies, but where did the internal change, right? What did you change in the inside? How did that happen?
A lot of it is I just study very successful people and very successful companies all the time, and I'm a big fan of history as well. So when you read other people's, here's the thing. Every single mistake that we could make as humans has already been made, and every success and every thought process that we could think about has already been thought of. It's all about finding out about other people's mistakes and other people's successes, and then just modeling what they've done, modeling the way they think. And so I study a lot, I read a lot, and that's kind of what I enjoy. So like, people ask me all the time, well, what hobbies do you have when you're not working? I'm like, when I'm not working, I'm reading, I'm watching other people, I'm studying other things. That's what I enjoy. And so that's why I could think the way I do. That's why I could grow the business the way I do. So it's all about just seeing other people that are more successful and learning from them. You know what I mean?
So as you read the books, your mind just started thinking differently, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and here's one thing I will say about books. I'm not a big book reader. I think people read too many books and they don't implement. Like, it's all about, hey, we'll read whatever. They say they want to read 52 books a year, like the average CEO out there. But the truth is, well, how many books are you actually putting into practice? I personally like to read one book every 2 months or 3 months and literally apply everything if I like the book. Then if I was to read 50 books and apply nothing, all this knowledge without implementation is useless. So
I love the way you think.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm not very big on books. I'm very big on just studying, biographies and seeing how people lived. And because, if you look at historically, like I could look at your life, for example, and I could see what you've done throughout your life, the decisions you've made and where they led you. And I could model the decisions that I think were right. And I could discard the bad decisions that led you to the bad outcomes, right? So it's like you literally have a back view mirror of everybody else's life. Why would you not learn from their mistakes? It doesn't make sense. So
I love what you're saying, because it's a lot of it is common sense and discipline, but I think the average person wouldn't even think the way you thought.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you say, because because you do a lot of personal growth, you do conferences, and it drives me crazy when, I read 59 books or 100 books last year. I'm like, oh yeah, but I'd rather read one book and master it. That's going to really change my life, and instead of read 500 books and not remember half of the stuff. Because the truth is this: you read a book, right? We read a book today, and then 80% of it you forget about it within a month. That's just a fact. You forget.
Statistically, you only remember 1% after a month. Statistically, because I read the statistics on this, and I'm like, wait, 1% after a month. Then what's the point of reading all these books if I'm not going to implement? So now I read a book, and literally as I'm reading a book, if I like it, I will go back and I'll read a chapter, implement the chapter into my business, move on to the next. So by the time I'm done with it, even if I don't remember it anymore, it's already been implemented in the business. It's already part of our structures, and I could just kind of move on with life. And then there's some books that I just keep on my desk because I know I'm going to reference them multiple times throughout my life. And those books, are different. But yeah, I mean, having said that, what I did is I hired back in April of 2020. The whole world was shutting down. Everybody was becoming smaller. And I decided, look, I'm going to hire a hiring manager. And I hired somebody and I said, look, your job is to keep hiring no matter what, because I believe now is the best time to grow. Even if I tell you to stop hiring, I don't care. Just keep hiring, because if I might get fearful and tell you to stop hiring, but I know it's the right decision. So she basically kept hiring people like crazy. In 2020, we went from having, well, at the beginning of 2021, we only had 2 people. By the end of 2020, we had 12, and I was able to double my business. And then in 2021, we did the same thing. I was able to triple my business. Even though I was able to buy my time back and barely spent any time in the business, we were still able to triple it. But at the beginning of 2021, I just looked at life and I was like, this is not fun anymore. Selling houses and building. By the way, I was like top 50 nationwide with a Remax. So like I built a pretty good sales business, but I just kind of got bored because I realized there's no more challenge anymore, and it's like it just kind of became a little bit too easy, and I got bored of it. So
I
I want
love
to do
your
something
honesty,
else.
right? I'm 21 years old, 22 years old, a millionaire. I'm bored. What do I do, right? But I love your authenticity because you. But sometimes think about this, Jen. What he's saying. So many times we view boredom as a bad thing, but when you hear Abbas, he got bored and he went for a bigger challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
And so many of us, we get bored and then we go do something that has nothing to do with growing us to the next level, like you did. So in reality, boredom is a great thing because it was something amazing for you.
Boredom and frustration, man. I'm a big fan of frustration as well, because when you're frustrated by something, that's when you make the biggest change. And I was a little bit frustrated. I was like, is this all to it? Like, is this my life? Basically, now I'm gonna keep making whatever, a couple $1 million a year for the rest of my life, and that's it. Like, it's not even about the money anymore. It's like about the achievement. Like, is there more that I could do as a human? And that really, like, the lack of another purpose frustrated me. And so I just kind of kept thinking. I was one day walking downtown San Jose, and this was interesting. I looked at a big building. I'm like, how much is this building? Like, how much would this thing cost? And it's like $130 million. And I looked at that. I'm like, you know what? I could never buy this in my life if I keep just selling houses. There has to be a better way. And again, it's not about the money anymore, because when I started, it was all about money. I needed money. That's all, so it was important. But then as you kind of make money and you fulfill the basic needs, like buying a house, buying a car, all these things, then it just kind of becomes useless. And it's like, okay, well, I could go buy something else that's new. And then, 2 weeks later, it's not shiny, it's not good anymore. Who cares? So that thought process from money shifted to achievement. And so now I'm all about achievement. What is the biggest, highest thing we could achieve? And so I looked at that building, it's 130 million. I'm like, well, how could I ever buy something like this? How could I achieve something like this? And so I looked at, how people buy big apartments, big buildings, and I realized that there's this thing called syndications, where you could basically have multiple people buy together, and then there's one guy or whatever, multiple guys that put the whole thing together, the whole deal together. And so what I did is, then I started learning about that in January of 2021, and then 4 months later, 5 months later, I bought my first building. It was $6.5 million, 64 apartment units in the Dallas market. It was the first time I raised money, and learned a lot through that process. And just going back and seeing, like, I used to live in apartments that were way, way, way worse than this, and now we're buying it. It was just kind of cool. And then about 4 months later, I went and we bought another deal. It was 194 units, 30.5 million, and again, much, much bigger. It was 6 times bigger. And so again, just to go back and say, hey, you know what? This is what we've done. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of learning and education and commitment. Was really fun for me. And so between January of 2022, this year, to about middle of April, I was stuck between two things. I was like, do I keep selling houses, or do I shift my full focus to just buying multifamily and starting a multifamily business where I invest in real estate and help other people invest with me? And it was basically, it was the toughest decision I had to make, because I already had a business that was good. And for me to leave it and go for something else that may or may not work was a big mental challenge. But after thinking about it long, I was like, if I was 85 years old, looking back at this decision, what would my 85-year-old self want me to do? Would they want me to live unhappily selling
Okay,
houses?
time out. I want to get inside your brain here a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a tough mental decision. That's the first time I heard you say it was really tough, right?
It was.
What was going on in your mind, right, inside the brain of the great Abbas at that time?
I wouldn't say I'm great at all. But here's what was going on. One thing is, I built my business, the sales business, for now 4.5 years, and spent insane amount of energy building it. And I was making good amount of money. Like I said, in 2021, made close to 2 million in profit. And it's like, okay, do I let that go and search for something greater that may or may not happen? Or do I just kind of keep coasting for the rest of my life, just doing this and not have any risk, basically? And I looked at those two options, and I thought, if I was 85 years old, dying in my deathbed, I would be very depressed if I had continued on just living and coasting through life with no challenge. And because of that, I made the decision that I'm just going to burn the ships on my real estate sales business. I hired two agents and said, look, you guys are going to take this over. You have all my business. I'll get a split, basically. And then I shifted my full focus to just multifamily. And we've been growing that like crazy over the past month. And I see so much progress happen in so little time. My only regret is I didn't do it sooner, to be honest with you.
23 years old, you didn't do it sooner, Abbas. Come on.
Oh
Let
man,
me hit you on the head with the book.
but it's been
So,
a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and I feel it's a big challenge, and I feel blood flowing through my body again. I feel it's a real challenge, and it's been a lot of fun. And I realized that this is what I want to do. Like, I could not get paid, and I would still want to do multifamily because I
so let
enjoy
me
it.
ask you this. So we have some entrepreneurs and business people listening to this.
Mhm.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is where you have to humble yourself, right? Because I've been hearing Tabas talk here and just seeing his body language, and he's so real. But sometimes as adults, older people don't want to receive the wisdom. Think, ladies and gentlemen, if you're older than 23 and you're not a millionaire and you don't have that success mindset like Abbas has, that millionaire mindset, the millionaire mind, listen to what he's saying, right? He's 23 years old, but he's achieved a lot. What's the best business, or what are two great business nuggets that you've learned that you would give as far as business advice that our audience can take away from you today, Abbas?
Well, one thing I will say is that success really is relative, right? Because if you think about it, am I successful? Well, to some people I am, but to others who've achieved way, 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 way more over the past 5 years I've been in business, right, since 18, I didn't achieve enough, because there are people that have built way bigger businesses in the past 5 years than me. So the truth is, it's all relative, and sometimes we think we're successful, but we're really not in comparison to others. And sometimes, we think we're not successful, but we are to others. So the
Well,
truth is,
I'm going to challenge that because most businesses, over 90% of businesses, never break $1 million.
and that's true, and that's true, and that's
So
true.
so receive it. You're successful. Don't be
I
don't be
appreciate
humble with me
that.
like that. You're successful, right? And that's a true fact. I don't have it broken down. I have it somewhere because I teach it, but over 90% of businesses never break a million, right? I think it's a top,
That's
actually
crazy.
I think it's the top five, maybe only the top 5% of businesses actually break a million in profitability, right? And just revenue in general. So you're
And
successful, my friend.
87% fail within 5 years, and it's crazy to see the statistics on all of that. But really, I think with business, what I've learned is that you just have to have commitment and discipline, really, because it's tough. Starting a business is not easy. Growing a business is not easy. And so if you're not absolutely committed and focused and you don't enjoy it, then eventually what's going to happen is you're just going to burn out, and you're going to go back to doing, whatever you were doing, or you're going to move on to the next shiny object that might look easier, but really nothing is actually easy. Everything is hard, and you just got to choose the thing that you want to do and just stick to it. And that's kind of been my kind of mantra throughout my life is just choose one thing, don't have other options. Because when you have other options, what happens is you end up becoming lazy. If you actually look at if I really like studying this, if you study active investors out on Wall Street or whatever, people like Carl Icahn, what they focus on is they don't want a CEO that runs two businesses, because when a CEO is running two businesses, what happens is they don't have that same amount of focus and they don't put the same amount of energy to grow a company the way it should be grown. And this is what I realized. I thought it might be doable in 2021 to have my sales business and have my multifamily business, but the truth is, I know even though we did well in the sales business, I could have done much, much better if that was my only focus. And I could have done much, much better in the multifamily business if that was my only focus. So choosing, to me at least, and different people might have different thoughts about this, but choosing one thing and just going all in on that is really crucial, in my opinion, to be successful at the highest levels in the business that you want. Because the truth is, I'm competing out there with people that are fully committed to the job, that are smarter, that have way more money. So it's like, if I'm just, halfway in, I'm not going to be able to compete with them as much.
But look at what you've accomplished, though. Think about this. Like, you got to give yourself credit, man, because not only did you duplicate yourself, because the audience is hearing you, you did sell, or you did kind of shift your focus from the sales side of your Remax business, but the fact is you're still getting commissions off of that, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's the smart way to do it, right? Because you're still getting, I don't know, we'll just over $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, but you're still getting a lot of revenue, or not revenue, but your salary, you're getting paid very well from that. But now, because you built that up, now you're not in your business, you're on your business. You hired people to run that business. We'll just say like general managers of an automobile dealership, but they're running it for you, and you're still making a profit because you're the owner of it. Now you're building this. So you shifted your focus on this because you hired somebody to focus for you over here.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm big on hiring.
It's really your mindset in that business. So that's why it's being prosperous, because it's your strategies, your philosophies, and your things. So now you're over here. And I love what you said, because I agree with you 100%, because I coach a lot of young businesses, small business owners. And the biggest thing is they always want to do 2 or 3 things at one time. Like, no, do one thing. Build out one thing up. And once you get that one thing up, then you can kind of dilute. Because if not, you focus on 2 or 3 things and you don't have the capacity to do it. So I love that you said that.
People talk about having multiple streams of income, like, oh, millionaires have 7 income streams or whatever they say. And it's like, well, you have to actually look through their life and see how those income streams develop. The truth is, almost every millionaire out there, self-made, that has multiple streams of income, they didn't get to be millionaires because of the multiple streams of income. They got to be millionaires because they were super focused on one stream, and that one stream made them millionaires or billionaires or whatever they got to. And then they started diversifying. You diversify to preserve your wealth. You don't diversify to grow wealth the same way as if you were just on one thing. But yeah, I mean, having said that, to go back to the business side, I'm very, very big on hiring. This is what I've learned, is that the biggest companies out there, if you think about companies out there that are successful, they're successful for a reason. So instead of going in and trying to figure out everything from scratch, it's like, why not just go learn what they've done and just implement the same procedures, the same models? That's way easier than going back and trying to reinvent the wheel from scratch. So if you look at some of the best companies out there, they're very big on hiring and they're very big on systems. And what I realized in hiring is that as you go along, you're going to get to different bottlenecks. And by the way, usually the business owner is the biggest bottleneck. The more you grow your mind, the better you'll be able to hire people, the more skills you're going to be able to bring into the business and all that sort of stuff. But having said that, like when I was growing my sales business,
I agree with you on that. I got to say, you're one. Listen to what he said. I don't want to miss that. What did you just say? What's the biggest bottleneck?
It's usually our false beliefs. The false beliefs that we have.
It's you, the owner.
Yep.
People get so mad because they ask, well, what's wrong with my business?
It's you, right? It's always you. It's always you.
But so tell us, why is that, right? Give us your wisdom on this, right? I want to hear your
because here's the thing. We all have the way I look at life is that we all have false beliefs, and the quicker you can find the false beliefs that you have and remove those from your thought process, the quicker your business can grow. I remember for so long, I thought nobody could do my job the way I could do it. This was back when I was 19. I was an arrogant little kid. I thought I'm the best at what I do, and I can't hire other people to do it. But the truth is, when I got over that idea and I started hiring people to cold call, my business just exploded. And then I got to a second problem, which is I was hiring people, spending a lot of time on that. So then I was like, well, I'm going to hire someone else to hire people for me because it's a bottleneck. And so I hired someone else, and over time she did better than I would have done. And then I hired someone to train people because I was training them too much. And then I hired people to do sales for me because I was selling too much. So it's like, as you grow along, you have different false beliefs about many different things in life. And the quicker you can take these off, the better you will do. One of the things I'll say is, and this is a big one that I've had recently, is that throughout the past 2 years, I was so focused. I was so focused on hiring virtual assistants because they were cheaper, right? And they were very effective at doing the things that I taught them. And I was able to grow my business. But then one of the things I just realized recently is, and again, this is like me overcoming a false belief. This is an example of it. It's like, wait, I've saved money. I've saved a lot of money by hiring virtual assistants, but how much more money could I have made if I hired people that were way, way, way smarter than I am in my business? If I hired some of the smartest top talent I could have hired in my business, how much more money could we've made, even though I would have paid them way more? And so the false belief I got over was that, it's all about saving money when hiring. But the truth is, it's not all about saving money. It's about hiring the best of the best people, even if you pay a premium, because they will bring in way more money to the business than you're paying them anyway. So just changing
Yes.
different beliefs about different things out there,
No, I agree. Actually, I experienced that myself because, right, I have two virtual assistants that I use full time, and then I have two other employees that we have. But I said I need somebody here in San Antonio in Texas, so I hired my assistant. And even though I was paying her like right compared to what I was paying,
Right.
paying her $3,000 to $4,000 a month at times, right? And it was just like it was a big chunk. But you look back at the revenue that was created because she was following up. I duplicated myself, and then she was also closing deals. Our revenue
Right.
just like wow, right? So we had
Right.
that momentum going into the first quarter of 2021. It was just like, man, right? It was like, why
Right.
not?
Why not?
I'll gladly pay $4,000 American as to right when you could pay that for a virtual assistant, 20 of them or whatever. But
Right.
now you got a person here that's live that's going to go out there, and I did some of the assessment on that and just reflected back on what the profitability was, and it was tremendous, right? So I think
Yeah.
you're right. Once you get over
Yeah.
that limited belief that, yeah, but you're duplicating yourself, and yes, it's going to cost you more because you actually have to pay taxes or whatever here for your employee in the States. But guess what? That person is going to bring you
Produce more.
$10,000, $20,000.
Right.
I'll take that. I'll take that
Oh,
investment every
any
day.
day, any day. And I think it's good to have like a combo, right? There's no right or wrong answer, but I was so focused. Another false belief that we have as humans is that we always tend to think in black or white. Like, oh, do I want to do this? Like, for example, do I want to hire virtual assistants or do I want to hire local people? And then whatever, and that could be applied to many different areas in life where we think it's either this or it's either that. But the truth is, a lot of things happen on a continuum, meaning that it could be halfway through this and then halfway through that, and that answer is usually right. The moderate answers are usually right. And so, what I realize is like, okay, I want to have virtual assistants, but I also want to have people that are smarter than me in the business, because the truth is my business is only as smart and as big as my skill set. And at the end of the day, I only have so much time to improve my skill set before I just run out of time. And it's not worth it for me to go and have 20 years of experience doing something when I could just hire somebody else to bring that
I love
experience
I
to it.
love what you just said, but you know what the reality of that is? Most people's egos get in the way.
Mhm.
And if you're an A leader, right? We'll just say you're the elite, you're a great leader. We'll just say, we'll just say you're an A minus leader, right?
Yeah.
You'll never hire an A plus leader
Right.
because of your insecurities.
Right.
How
Right.
did you overcome that? Because those insecurities set in, and then next thing you know, it's like, well, I'm the owner, right? I mean, and that's when you start to micromanage, and then that's when you start to self sabotage yourself, and I've seen it over and over, and
Yeah.
it goes back to, well, what's the problem? Well, you're just an
Right.
insecure business owner, and right.
Right.
But so what did you do to overcome that? Because
I
I
think I
love the way
think
you're
of
saying it.
overcoming ego is a huge problem that a lot of people have, because people think that they're something, and it's like, get over yourself, dude. Like at the end of the day, there's so much out there that we don't know, and I just, what I came to the conclusion is that I just don't care about other people's opinions of me. I don't care about my opinion of me. It's like I just look at things in a very pragmatic way, in a very logical way, and it's like I'm not skilled enough in this area of life. And there are other people that are way smarter. And I don't care how much money they're making. If they're way smarter in this specific area, I will go and be a student. And that's just the way I think. And nowadays I'm thinking, well, I shouldn't just be a student in these areas of life. I should hire other people that have already been students. So that way I don't have to be a student to grow the business anymore. I could just focus on bigger things. And so that has been, like I said, a major shift in the way I think. But I think this again goes back to ego. And I think a lot of people live their lives in a way to satisfy other people's opinions of them. It's like, oh, my parents wanted me to do this, or I want my friends to think of me a certain way, so I'm going to go live my life in an unhappy way because my friends want me to live this way. It's like, and our society expects me to go buy a house and then go do this and then go to a job for the rest of my life and then retire. It's like, who cares about what other people think? Just go do what you want.
If you think about it, you went against society. Right?
100%.
You dropped out of college and then you became a used car salesman. And look though, but that road, we hear it, and not that I knock college, right? Because my daughter's going to be graduating this weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
With
That's
her MBA.
awesome.
But now that she sees, right, her dad in his latter years, that, man, dad's actually doing, like, dad has a big business. Like, dad's doing okay. And
Right.
like, right, I get to travel to Hawaii and go speak over there and whatever.
Right.
Like, right. Because of course your own family sometimes are like, oh, this is what they said. Dad's going through a phase again, right?
Right.
I mean, because when I came out, I'm like, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. That's me. And that I gotta say, that does sound kind of crazy when I said it. But look at, because I was crazy enough to believe in that. Now my kids are like, well, Dad, like this. I'm grateful for my son because he's going to graduate here in December. He goes, well, I don't think I want to be a teacher. I said, well, why? And I've never pushed nothing on him. I just said, well, he does have a sales job. He works part-time at one of the top car washes here. He does sales there. And he goes, well, I see that lifestyle that you and mom have, and being a teacher ain't going to afford that for me.
Right.
He goes, I think I want to learn sales. And he actually wants to sell cars. And then he goes, then I want to aspire to maybe own my own business, my own dealership. I'm like, well, good. If that's what you want to do.
I love it.
But if I would have told him to do that, he would have never done it. He saw what I went through or what we're doing.
Right.
And they're like, my kids, so because my kids are dreaming bigger. So I can imagine the legacy that you're leaving, man, for your parents or your brothers. So are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm the middle child, actually. I'm the middle child. Yeah. And
Are you the most successful of all of your brothers and sisters?
It depends on how you measure success. But if you measured it financially, then yes.
Okay. I like that humbleness about you.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we're talking about wealth as far as monetary, right? Like as far as, but the beautiful thing about it, I mean, without you even saying, we've never even talked about this, but I can put $1 million that you've taken care of your family along the way.
I have, for sure. Because really, that was one of the motivators for me going. I remember, just like I said, growing up and not having any money and sleeping on concrete and seeing my dad work 12 hours a day and putting his life at risk. And it's like, I don't want him to have to do that anymore. And so the bigger I could grow the business, the better I could take care of them. And that's part of it. The other part is seeing other people that work for me and see how their lives have changed, because they have a job or whatever. And it's like, that is a big motivator. So like, one of my goals is I want us to get to 100 employees in the US in the next 5 years as well. And so it's like, just looking at people and changing their lives and having us all be a part of a big mission, a big goal. And it's all about achievement. It's all about growth, both business wise and mentally, right? It really is what keeps me going. That's kind of what the fun part of business is for me. It's like a big self-development, because if you're stuck at 2 million, it's because you lack a skill or you have a mental belief that may be not serving you well, that's preventing you from getting to $10 million a year. And if you're at $10 million a year and you're stuck, it's because you're not thinking well enough to get you to 50 or 100 or whatever the case is. And so I'm just trying to figure out in my life, what are the false beliefs that I have that are preventing me from growing, because I need to get over those as quickly as possible. And we don't know what those false beliefs are until you just keep searching and you keep learning and you keep being humble and learning from others, you know?
Yeah, I love what you're saying too. I'm enjoying this conversation. We're gonna have a part two, man. So check it out. So what happens is when right, if you've never had wealth or you've never had that amount of money in the bank, it's like two things happen, because it happened to me, right? Greed sets in, and then hoard sits in, but it doesn't happen on purpose. It doesn't. You don't. The biggest lie that I've heard, that the myth or the lie that we hear is, oh well, money just makes you more who you are. No, it doesn't, because if you've never had $1 million, how can you say that? You don't
Right.
know.
You don't know.
Yeah, so I can tell you that as our success grew and our bank account grew, I literally had to fight that, because the thing is this, is that over 90% of Americans have a scarcity. I call it a poor-minded financial in your economy. So every decision you make is based off that poor-minded financial in your economy. So when you get wealth, there's a deeper part of you that goes into that, well, I don't want to lose it now. And
Right.
then you stop doing the things that got you there. So when you do that, you start losing it, because now you're in fear instead of the creative, right?
Right.
You're not creating. I call it, you disintegrate yourself is what you really do.
Right.
And for me to combat that, I did a video on this, is that you just have to be generous. You have to give, right? Because you got to keep the money going. And the amazing thing is, the more you distribute and help the homeless, help the needy, or whatever it is to help people, then the
Right.
days we did that, more money came into the business.
I love that. And I just, I love what you just said. You just said something that I was having a conversation with somebody about yesterday. You said you stop doing the things that got you to become a millionaire or whatever, and then you start losing it. And you know what's interesting? This is what I realized as well, is that a lot of times, if you look at people that didn't have any money and they got to say $5 million net worth or $10 million net worth or $20 million net worth, usually what happens is, when people get to a number that affords them a comfortable life, if that's what they wanted, then they start becoming a lot more protective of the money that they had, and it just stops growing, because they stop doing the things that got them to be at 5 million or 10 million or 20 million dollars in that, or whatever, or 50, because they want to protect that money that they have. They want to protect that's their life achievement. And then they stop being aggressive. They stop going out there into the marketplace and putting in the work and growing the company and hiring the people and taking the risks sometimes and all these things. And so what I've noticed is that the people that are really at the top, like the people that are billionaires, they're always trying to grow. They're always hunting for the big thing, for the next big step. And that's why they're constantly growing financially, versus some other people get stuck at 6, 10, 15, 20. And so just learning who to take your advice from is very, very important. Grant Cardone talks about this a lot. He's like, millionaires are the worst when it comes to giving advice. Never take advice from a millionaire, because they will give you advice that keeps them in their place, right where they're at, because they're just financially secure. And maybe for some people that's what they want. They're happy. They got to 15, 20, whatever. They're happy with life, and that's it. But again, to some other people like myself, it's not about the money anymore. It's like, well, how do I get to 100 million? How do I get to a billion? And it's not for the money, because I want to give up all the money I make before I die, but it's about knowing that I could achieve that number, because I've gotten over many false beliefs that could get me to that number. Because if I don't get over the false beliefs, I can't get to a billion. And so it's a measure of, it's in a way, it's a measure of I guess self-discovery, and it's a measure of personal growth as you kind of go along. And that's really the fun part of business.
Well, the thing is, this is how many. I mean, right? I gotta applaud you, and I admire the fact that you're 23 years old. But that in itself, plus, we'll just say adults in general over 18, how many of them even ask themselves those two questions you just said? Think
Yeah.
about that. Think about that. How many adults in America or in the world, we'll just say America, would say, well, how do I get to 50 million? How do I get to 100 million?
Right.
I would say 0.25% of people even ask themselves that question.
You know,
That makes
the
sense?
problem, 100%. I think the problem is a lot of people don't even know what they want. They're just zombieing their way through life. They've never, like, I speak to some people sometimes, and they've never really sat down to think about what they want in life. It's like, well, what do you want? Like when you're 85 years old and you're dying, and this is a question I think about all the time. When I'm 85 years old and I'm dying in my deathbed, what would my 85-year-old self have wanted me to have accomplished? And those are the things I'm going to work backwards. Oh, well, my 85-year-old self wants me to do this and this and this. I'm just going to work backwards. And so a lot of people haven't thought about what they want to have accomplished in life. And so they go do all these things, and they're basically, as Warren Buffett says, they're zombieing their way through life. They're just taking it day by day, no thought process about what's going on, no goals, no nothing, right? And then it causes people to not live a very fulfilled life, and it's sad to see, but you know, that's how they have the regrets all the time.
Man, can you believe we've been on the phone for an hour? We've been on the call for an hour. This has been an amazing episode, my brother.
Oh, man,
I definitely got to bring you back here at the end of the year just to see where you're at. And I love our energy. It doesn't even seem like it's been just an amazing conversation. Give us your last word of wisdom. Give us your last word of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm wise enough to have anything like that, but I will say this: whatever it is you do, focus. Focus has been the most tremendous thing I've ever learned. To be able to focus on one thing and then just putting all your efforts on the thing that you're actually focused on, and that could be starting a business, or it could be on there's different bottlenecks in a business, and if you just focus on what's actually stopping your business from growing and going all in on the things that are stopping it from growth, that to me is the most important. Focus and just taking massive amounts of action towards unbottlenecking the business. That's kind of the most important.
Love it. What's a quote or a scripture you rely on during times of adversity?
What would a billionaire do?
What would a billionaire do?
What would a billionaire do?
I love it, man. How do we get a hold of you, Abbas? Somebody wants to connect with you. How do we get a hold of you?
The best way is email Abbas, which is ABBAS at theabbasgroup.com. Abbas at theabbasgroup.com. That's my email.
All right, man. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the wrap for this week's episode. What an amazing episode here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. So much wisdom was dropped. I'll tell you what, if you love what you heard here, definitely tune in again next week. And if you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com. And we want to give you your free entrepreneur assessment and send us a message there through our website. We definitely want to bless you with a complimentary 45-minute discovery session. And go to the makingsofamillionairemindbook.com, the makingsofamillionairemind.com. Get our new book, get our new course. It's going to transform your life. The reviews have been amazing. People's lives are changing, right? Because when you change the way you think, your life's going to change. And that's exactly what Abbas was saying here today, right? So go to the makingsofamillionairemind.com. Get our course, 27 powerful modules. They're going to change your life. And then, of course, our book, as at Amazon, we'd love to get you on a copy, and it's going to change who you are. So until next week, we'll see you here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show with another amazing guest. Once again, to the great Abbas. Woo, woo.
Thanks for having me, Daniel. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Woo. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to danielgomezinspires.com and get your copy today. That's danielgomezinspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.